What is going on, guys? The Inside the Loop podcast, and today we have a NFL tiers list breaking down all the teams and where I think they're going to fit on this tier list. We have Super Bowl favorites, Super Bowl contenders, playoff teams, a potential wild card, the missing the playoffs, mediocre, young but interesting, and also our final one is the number one pick contention. Probably not too many teams going to be in the number one pick contention, but I think we all know some of those teams that definitely have a possibility. So we're going to start off with the Arizona Cardinals. I think this is an Arizona Cardinals team that does have some pieces, right? They have Marvin Harrison Jr., a new weapon for Kyler Murray. And, I think Kyler Murray could be a good quarterback this year. They are in a tight division with the Rams and the Seahawks and, of course, the 49ers. So it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. So that's why I do have them missing the playoffs as our first team. I think the NFC West is too much, and I don't think they have enough pieces to get over the hump. And also, I think they're still going to be a decent team that's going to compete, but just not enough. And now we get to the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins coming in. No more Arthur Smith, maybe a Bijan Robinson breakout, real season, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. We don't know what Kyle Pitts is ever going to be. I know there's so many people that are drafting Kyle Pitts every year, hoping for a change. But like I said, the NFC South is obviously different than the NFC West, right? You got the Panthers, you got the Saints, you got the Falcons. And you got the Buccaneers. So I think there's definitely a chance that this team could be decent. But I still have them missing the playoffs as of now. And by the way, in this video, things could change. Like all of a sudden, I could think the playoffs, the Falcons could potentially be a wild card. But getting into our first Super Bowl favorite, that's the Baltimore Ravens, man. This team is just so good at what they do. They have so much talent. And the AFC, you got to worry about the Kansas City Chiefs always. You got to worry about the Buffalo Bills still, in my opinion. And the Baltimore Ravens, I think, are in a tight division with the Browns, Steelers, and Bengals. But I still think they could definitely be the top team in that division. And as long as Lamar is healthy, and now you have Derrick Henry in the backfield, you could have a really strong offense this year, maybe one of the best in the NFL. Mark Andrews is healthy. And, I mean, sure, their wide receiver room, I don't know if it really stands out as others. Like, you have Zay Flowers, but I think they're going to rely on the run game. It's an offensive line that lost Kevin Zeitler, but I don't think Kevin Zeitler just makes up an offensive line. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, we don't know what the defense is going to be. I still think it's going to be a great defense, though, even though it's very unsure. Roquan Smith is still there. Kyle Hamilton, just some names to name. But, yeah, I think that the Baltimore Ravens have a real shot. I had them going to the Super Bowl last year in my playoff prediction. If you want to still check out that video, you're more than welcome to, even though we all know that the Kansas City Chiefs won back-to-back Super Bowls. We'll eventually get into them. But the next team is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, it's such a weird team to predict, in my opinion. I still think they're a great team. Like, I still think they have a bunch of weapons, even though they lost Stephon Diggs. And I know as good of a wide receiver is Stephon Diggs. I don't know if he's going to be heavily missed because it seemed to me that this Keon Coleman guy that they drafted, I really liked him in the draft. I think he could be a stud right out of the gate with Josh Allen. Josh Allen, this guy can still sling the football and run for a lot of yards. Like, this is the guy that, of course, in Buffalo, that you want as their quarterback. And Josh Allen could win you any game against any team. He can compete with Kansas City. He can compete with Baltimore, two of the top teams in the AFC, in my opinion. And I do have on the Buffalo Bills, as of right now, in that Super Bowl contender. I still think Buffalo could be a great team this year. And with what is going with Buffalo, losing Stephon Diggs, right? You know, you got James Cook in the backfield, and no more Ken Dorsey, right? He goes to the Browns, I believe. Comments below, you could help me on that one, but I still think the Buffalo Bills are a great team in the AFC. As long as Josh Allen is your quarterback, you could compete with anyone. A team that is not going to be a Super Bowl contender is the Carolina Panthers. They are in the #1 pick contention. They are not going to be a good team. As much as I do like Bryce Young as a prospect, I don't think they have nearly enough to compete within the division, and I don't even think the NFC South is some type of division. Like, they're going to have a Super Bowl contender in there. They're just not going to be good. Their roster needs work. They drafted Jonathan Brooks, who I think could be a good running back this year. He's on the PUP list still. But Bryce Young, I hope, has a better season this year, because this first year was rough. And that's pretty much all I have for the Panthers. Now with the Bears. The Bears had a offseason to love, right? You get a brand new quarterback in Caleb Williams. You trade for Keenan Allen. You get Rome Odunze, and there were many more moves that this team made that I could probably name, but I think just that alone, you get Caleb Williams, the top quarterback in the class. You get a guy like Keenan Allen, and if he is healthy, you're getting a really good wide receiver, and you already had a great season out of DJ Moore. So, I mean, for fantasy owners, I don't know what DJ Moore is going to be, but this isn't fantasy. This is just NFL team tiers, and I think they have a solid wide receiver room. I do like Rome Odunze as a prospect. I think he could be good. Do I have him as a playoff team? No, as of now, but I do have them as a potential wild card if everything goes right. I think playoff team definitely soon. I think this could definitely be an 8-9 teamish. I mean, if Caleb balls out, we don't know, but getting into our next team, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that I think has all the tools with Joe Burrow to win the Super Bowl, right? Joe Burrow coming off an ACL, not an ACL tear, coming off an injury. Let's just say that. He could be a really good quarterback, and as long as he's healthy, he's a Super Bowl contender. He is a Super Bowl contender for sure, in my opinion. I still love the Jamar Chase LSU buddies. I still love that duo. They made some moves in the offseason that I think could benefit them, but hey, as long as Cincinnati's good, and as long as Joe Burrow plays to the expectations, they're going to have a good year. Despite them being in such a tight division with the Steelers and Browns and Ravens, I think they're better than the Steelers. I think they're better than the Browns. And I think Baltimore is the only team that could really give them trouble. And that's why I have the Baltimore Ravens as a Super Bowl favorite and the Bengals as a contender. Getting into another team in their division, the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson's back. Amari Cooper. They try to get Brandon Ayuk in the offseason. They have a really solid defense, in my opinion. Offensive line is always pretty good. And with Deshaun Watson coming back, no Nick Chubb yet. He'll probably be ready like week 5, week 6. I think this is I still think it's a good team. Like, yeah, they're in a tight division, and I'm probably going to say that for every team in that division. But I have the Browns, as of now, as a potential... I have him as a potential wild card only because I think there's just a lot in that division that they need to be better than. Like, we don't know what type of Deshaun Watson we're gonna get. Like, we can get 2019 Deshaun Watson, and sure, they're a playoff team, right? As of right now, I may change it later in this video, but as of right now, I'm gonna have them as a wild card team. We got the Dallas Cowboys up next. Dallas Cowboys, all in Jerry Jones. Really, the only thing all in was everybody's jobs on the line. with Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, the main talks in the offseason. How much money is Dak going to be paid? There's been rumors that this guy's going to get $60 million a year. There's been rumors Micah Parsons could leave. There's rumors with CeeDee Lamb holding out, and now he's finally with the team on a 4-year deal. This is still a playoff team. And I think, I don't know if I call him a Super Bowl contender because this team has not gotten to the Super Bowl in quite some time. I have them as a playoff team. A 10-win team I think is fair. I like the Bengals better than the Cowboys. I like the Bills better than the Cowboys. A team that I like the Cowboys more than this year is the Denver Broncos. As long as Bo Nix, that team is going to be poor. They are probably going to be very bad. And I don't see them being very good at all. Even if Bo Nix shines, you're going to have to deal with the Chargers with Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. You're going to have to deal with a Raiders team that I think is better than you. You're going to have to deal with Patty Mahomes, the best team in the NFL. So I don't think there's much brightness. Maybe in the future, maybe if they build around them. But the Detroit Lions now, and then we're getting to Green Bay next. Detroit Lions, really fun team to watch. They were fun last year, even though they kind of sold the NFC Championship. But still, I mean, Jared Goff had a good year. Dan Campbell has really changed this team around. Amon-Ra is a great wide receiver. You got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Just a great running back duo. And I think when it comes to Super Bowl favorites and Super Bowl contenders, there's no doubt in my mind that this Lions team can become a Super Bowl contender. I do think. I think Super Bowl favorites, there's not many teams, in my opinion, that could be a Super Bowl favorite. I think you could definitely make an argument that this team could be a Super Bowl favorite because they have the offense. They got a solid defense with Aiden Hutchinson and all those guys. Their offense is unreal. Their offensive line is unreal. I don't really know a weak spot really on that team that I can name off the top of my head. And another team in the division that I think is great as well. Do I think that they're better than the Lions? No. And that's why I have them more as a playoff team. That is the Green Bay Packers. I don't love the Jordan Love contract. I still think Green Bay has a really young, fun team under Matt LaFleur. They just got a new running back. So a lot of things to watch out for this team, right? Young team. Jaden Reed's cool. You got Jordan Love, who had a good season, trying to really prove that he's worth $55 million a year. Do I think he's worth that? No, but I mean, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun watching the Green Bay Packers for sure. And it's crazy to me that they get Brett Favre, then they go to Aaron Rodgers, and now they go to Jordan Love. And I'm not saying Jordan Love is on any of those two greats in front of him, but they've kind of technically hit on 3 straight quarterbacks. If you really think about it, another team. The Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud had a fun year, got eliminated by Lamar Jackson. This is a playoff team. For me, it's really just how this offense plays, and their new defensive additions and all that. I think this is a really good team, up and down. On the offense, of course, they got Joe Mixon this offseason. They got Stephon Diggs. Whether you love Stephon Diggs or not, he's still a good wide receiver. I don't know if you'd say he's a top 10. Maybe he's in that conversation, but I think anywhere from top 10 to top 15 is still fair. I know he gets a lot of hate. Am I a big Stephon Diggs fan? No. But getting into our next team, the Indianapolis Colts. I almost called them Orlando. I don't know why, but Anthony Richardson's back. Jonathan Taylor's fully healthy. Adonai Mitchell from Texas is on the team. This is a really young team that is going to compete with the Houston Texans. I think the Texans are a little bit better, despite the Colts nearly getting into a playoff spot. It's a potential wild card for me, in my opinion. I still think they're a good team, and I think I love Anthony Richardson too. It really gets interesting when it comes down to those division matchups, whether the Colts win or the Texans win. They're playing each other week 1, and if you want to see my week 1 picks, definitely tune into that episode just previously. Did really well on the channel. I appreciate all of you guys for supporting that video. Getting into the Jacksonville Jaguars, another potential wildcard team. I don't know if I say that they're a playoff team, but I think they definitely have potential for sure to make the playoffs. Next one's a no-brainer. That's the Kansas City Chiefs, and I mean, this is a Super Bowl favorite. I don't know the many teams that are left. These are the remaining teams that we have to break down. I don't know if you could really name many that are a Super Bowl favorite aside from the Chiefs and Ravens, and that's why I have the Kansas City Chiefs as a favorite, and I'll put them ahead of Baltimore, even though if it will let me. There we go. I'll put them ahead of Baltimore. This isn't a exact like 1-2, like, because Kansas City's closer to the left. It's not anything like that. I just felt like putting it like that. So this is what we have so far. So we got Super Bowl favorites. We got 2 Super Bowl contenders. We got 3, and then there are the rest on your screen. The Chargers, another team from the AFC West. Justin Herbert, wide receiver room is questionable with moving on from Mike Williams, who went to the Jets, and the Chargers losing on Keenan Allen to the Bears. So you don't really have much to throw to. I don't know what Ladd McConkey is going to be. No more Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler didn't want that big of a workload. That's why he's with Washington now. They're missing the playoffs. I hate to say it because I am a Justin Herbert fan. But yeah, they're missing the playoffs, unfortunately. Tight. It's definitely a division that they could definitely still make the playoffs, being that number 2 team. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Going to the next LA team, the LA Rams. Better roster, in my opinion. They're losing Aaron Donald, which obviously is unfortunate. But this is still a playoff team, in my opinion. Yeah, they're still a playoff team. Do I classify them as a Super Bowl contender? No. I think the secondary is interesting, and that defense overall, despite having some young players, it's still definitely in question. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. But yeah, getting into our next team, the Las Vegas Raiders, and then the Miami Dolphins. And yeah, Raiders, they're not making the playoffs. It's pretty simple. They're just not ready yet, I don't think. I don't think they have enough pieces. Their quarterback situation is poor. Whether you love Minshew Mania or not, or you love Aiden O'Connell or not, I'm sorry, but that is not going to cut it when it comes to making the playoffs. And when you have a Patrick Mahomes and you have even a Justin Herbert, despite he has a poor wide receiver room, it's just not enough to compete. Miami Dolphins now, a team that I do like as a playoff team, and they're going to make the playoffs once again. It's a division, with the Jets and Bills. Those 3 teams can easily be a playoff team, in my opinion. And you'll see where I have all those teams. As of right now, we have the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl contenders. As long as Josh Allen's their quarterback, I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to be I almost said World Series again. If they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. Next team is the Minnesota Vikings. My Giants play them week 1. And you guys can see what team I picked. They're missing the playoffs. Sam Darnold isn't that guy. Neither is J.J. McCarthy. And J.J. McCarthy isn't playing this season. He tore his meniscus. The Vikings have some players, though. They got a steal in Dallas Turner, I think at pick 18. They traded back into the draft, I believe. And then they also selected J.J. McCarthy. Yeah, I think this Vikings team has a lot of good pieces, though. Jay Jettas, Jordan Addison, great duo there. You still have TJ Hawkinson, who is on the PUP list, but still an elite tight end in my opinion. A lot to like about the team. Now we get to the New England Patriots. Drake May is not starting. It is Jacoby Brissett. In my opinions, I would have loved to see Drake May. I see where Jared Mayo and the staff is going towards this. No need to rush May. They know they're not competing for a championship this year. But I have them as a young and interesting squad. I think that they're decent in some areas, but their wide receiver room is poor. Ramondre Stevenson is cool, but there's just not enough. Not enough at all. Getting into the New Orleans Saints, we have our first mediocre team. You could definitely argue, if we had another category, that this team is trash. I don't have that category today. I have young and interesting, and then number one pick contention. I could have, it's honestly mediocre / trash. Let's put that in. You know what? Just to make, you know what? Yeah, you know what? No, we're just gonna keep it as mediocre. We're just gonna keep it as mediocre because the next team, the New York Giants, my team. I love them to death. Do I love Daniel Jones as the future? No. They moved on from Saquon Barkley. No more Darren Waller. Malik Neighbors is their wide receiver 1. It's an upcoming team. It'll be interesting how they play this year. If you saw my record prediction, I had them at 7 wins. I don't know. This season really just depends on Daniel Jones. If he is terrible right out of the gate, and we have Drew Lock / Tommy DeVito starting by week 4, I don't expect this team to win more than 4 or 5 games. And now I think you could definitely, I know there have been many analysts and other people who talk NFL. They do have the New York Giants as a they do have them as a number 1 pick contention. I don't think they're I don't think they're there. I think they're just mediocre, somewhat competitive. They have a good defensive line with Brian Burns addition. Dexter Lawrence is one of the best nose tackles, best defensive tackle, whatever you want to say. But that's enough for the New York Giants. Getting to the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers is back. Mike Williams is here. Breece Hall is healthy. Garrett Wilson is healthy. They just drafted Rashawn Slater. No, not Rashawn Slater. Oh my gosh. Vashanu. This is a playoff team. And I don't think I have to go any further than that. Now, I think their ceiling is definitely right here. I think that's their ceiling for a Super Bowl contender. I think if Aaron Rodgers plays how Aaron Rodgers should be and how he did a few seasons ago when he was fully healthy with Green Bay, definitely not a Super Bowl favorite. As of now, they're just a playoff team, 10-7 maybe, something like that. Getting into our next team, the Philadelphia Eagles. A team that I absolutely despise as a Giants fan, of course. They stole Saquon Barkley from us. And I was actually sitting with a few Eagles fans having lunch. And when I saw the news, I wanted to cry. But Saquon didn't want to be here anymore. That's another topic for another day. The Eagles. This is definitely a Super Bowl team. This is not just a playoff team. With the addition of Saquon Barkley, their offense is elite. With Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley, that might be one of the best 4 offensive weapons in the league. It's definitely up there. And in terms of wide receiver duo with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, that's elite. So, yeah, I think they're definitely a Super Bowl contender in my eyes. Going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Good team. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to be a wild card team. This is a team that has never finished, I think it's 17 straight seasons now, with Mike Tomlin finishing over 500. I think he finished, 9-8 last year? Got killed by the Buffalo Bills in the Snowfest. Russell Wilson's your quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know if he is a great quarterback. I don't know what type of Russell Wilson we're gonna get. If it's a great elite Russell Wilson, sure, this is a guaranteed, a good playoff team. But I think there's potential wild card in here. I think it just depends. I mean, it's such a tight division. Like, we have the Browns here too in this same spot. It's going to be tough. I could definitely see them missing the playoffs as we're down to our final 5 teams. 2 of them in the NFC West, 1 of them in the NFC South, 1 of them in the NFC East, and the NFC... Actually, I think they're actually in the AFC. My apologies on that. So we got the Seattle Seahawks. I think this is a good team. They're in a tough division. Definitely could be a wild card team. I don't think I can guarantee them a playoff spot with Geno Smith. So I'm going to put them as a potential wild card spot. I think that's a fair spot for them. They got a good team. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, a bunch of good players on the team. So I think they could definitely be a potential wild card. I don't think I'd lock them in as a playoff team. If there's a team that I could lock in as a playoff team, and not only a playoff team, a Super Bowl favorite, that is the San Francisco 49ers. That team is unbelievable, man. I mean, you look at what they're doing there. What else do I have to say about them? This is an elite team up and down. When you look at the team, they got Brock Purdy and CMC. That alone is elite. You got George Kittle, a top tight end in the league. Elite offensive line led by Trent Williams. Wide receiver room is way back. Like meaning like it's so back, with Brandon Ayuk being with the team now. I think that's enough said about the 49ers. They're a really freaking good team, and I wish the Giants had the team like them. But I'm not going to talk about the Giants again. They are in the mediocre tier, and they deserve to be in the mediocre tier. And now get into the Buccaneers. I think it's really in between potential wild card and missing playoffs, but I think potential wild card is fair, but also just judging off this, just judging off where I have teams. Like, I have the Falcons missing the playoffs. I have the Panthers in the number 1 pick contention. I have them in mediocre, so I have to put them at a playoff team just because a team has to make the playoffs, right? From the NFC South, and I think it should be them. Do I think they're a great team? No. And if there's another team that's not a great team, that's the Tennessee Titans. Do I think they're in the number 1 pick contention? No. I think Will Levis is cool. No more Derrick Henry. DeAndre Hopkins is on the team. I think this is a mediocre team at best. And I guess before we get into the Washington Commanders, let's just see what we have so far. We have every team but the Commanders. We have, I think, 3 real good teams in the Super Bowl favorites. Maybe you throw the Lions in there. I think that's definitely a consideration. I still think the Buffalo Bills are not just a playoff team. And I think the rest is pretty accurate. Maybe the Falcons sneak in as a potential wild card. But I just don't have them making the playoffs. But I think it's definitely fair to say that they could be a potential wild... Oh, my gosh. A potential wild card. I think that's fair. And I think I like that spot, actually. With Kirk Cousins, with what's his face? With Bijan Robinson, I think definitely... it's definitely there as being a playoff team and a potential wild card. I think another thing before we get into our final pick, we're gonna do more of these tier lists, like worst fan base, all of this type of stuff. And this is coming from a New York Giants fan, so expect the Cowboys and Eagles to be at down low. But regardless, final pick, Washington Commanders. Nothing really else but young and interesting. Jaden Daniels is supposed to be cool, and I think he can definitely be a good quarterback in the NFL. Just looking at my list for this. Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate, actually. Yeah, with what I have. Yeah, yeah, everything that I have on this list is pretty accurate. Just looking at someone else's list, they have some different stuff, but I think it's overall pretty accurate. You could probably say the Saints are maybe in the missing playoff tier, or the Bucks being a playoff team. And you know, I'm actually going to change that. I'm going to change that. I don't think the Bucks are going to be that. Yeah, I think that's fair. Sorry about moving the thing that much, but yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. This was a 30-minute episode of breaking down all the Super Bowl teams, all the Super Bowl contenders, playoff teams, potential wild card, missing playoffs, mediocre teams, the young and interesting, and the teams that are trying to get the #1 pick in the draft. That's gonna do it for this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.